the CEO of Performance Works. He joins us from UK.
Good to join you again, CK. Hope you're well.
Absolutely. And today we have a very interesting subject to discuss with you, Jeremy. And the subject is very close to my heart. And also, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs must be thinking about it. You know, when you start your company or you start your group or you start as a leader in the industry, you have a goal, you have a purpose, and you want to fulfill that purpose. But along the way, you somehow miss that purpose and you become profiteer. You know, after a couple of years you want to make sure that you want to keep making revenues, etc. So I think this is one subject. You know, how do you strike a balance between the purpose of your company or your group or your leadership and how much profit you have to look at? What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, we don't often talk about it being a problem making profit, do we? in business. What a way to start 2021 after we've just had this pandemic and businesses are looking, some businesses are fighting for survival, some are fighting for every piece of margin. But actually, what is happening is that alongside that, there is this huge transformation that is happening in business, as we know, not just the traditional business transformation like digital and workforce, but actually at leadership level, and the need to drive new traits and skills at leadership level to take the company in a different direction. And there is a growing groundswell of leaders across the world who are, I would use the phrase, who are becoming forces for good. So beyond the company walls, they have an eye to what is the contribution of the business and them to society, to the planet as a whole, when we talk about climate change, but also how they can manage and lead their business more ethically and balance profit and purpose together. And purpose, I think it's worth mentioning. When we say purpose, that is going beyond traditional vision and mission. It's having a core purpose which is meaningful to that leader, to that business, to the employees within the business, and to their customers and stakeholders externally to it. You could be as bold as to say that many of these more enlightened leaders who are starting to very, very loudly talk about this are really challenging the very roots of capitalism as we know it today and looking at a brand new model.
So I think it is easier said than done. It requires a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, risk analysis. And I know for sure, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs globally. You help them with their journey. And you also have a very unique company called Performance Work. And you come out with these different matrices and you help people like us. Do you have a model by which you can strike, a person like me can strike a balance between how much profit I need to run my show and how much time I need for myself?
Yeah, well, I don't have a model, I have an ethos. So my ethos is that, between 5 and 8% of my profits will go to supporting the communities within which I serve. And you can go to my website and have a look. Now, I'm a small business. I have embraced a new way of working. So I've restructured and set up my business very differently to a traditional model. I've embraced the gig economy. I have 100% contingent workforce apart from myself, and leverage talent from all over the world, not just within 10 miles or 10 kilometers of where I live. So I have unique resources, but that also enables me to practice this as well. So I am using and hiring talent from around the world also that have a very similar viewpoint. So they want to work with an organization like myself. So if we can do that together well, then we create a sort of a mutual loyalty. So it gives you that sort of sense of a permanent workforce. So that's one way of me shoring up the business from, if you like, from the bottom up. But then because I'm able to control what I do and how I do things and how I source things, I do that in a responsible way that, first of all, helps me manage my costs, but also helps to give back. So, for example, it's not just about, when I say give back, it's not just about giving to charity or donating. It is actually work with the people that I work with. Part of the remuneration that I offer them is to make donations for causes that they're passionate about in their country or within their region. And also, if they're in a country which is going through some kind of major event, is make sure that we're actively supporting them as individuals and their family, but also in a financial way, in a very small way. Being a small business, 5 to 8% of my business is not 5 to 8% of HP or Unilever, of course, let's face it. But my argument would be, if there are many entrepreneurs like myself and small businesses and medium businesses who do this, the number becomes huge.
I'm sure this is a very interesting concept. And, I think for a small companies like yours and as well as mine, and many others like us, it will also depend on how much revenue we are making per customer. Because if you're not making enough revenue, then, you can't implement this model. So you must have faced these challenges, how much you have to make per customer, and because you're embracing the gig economy, you have a limited time at your hand, and you want to make it maximum output out of that. So what is your mantra of finding who's the right client to work with?
Yeah, well, and it doesn't. Even if you've got a blueprint of the right client, it doesn't always work. That. You feel that it's good potential, but it's there. But so I don't look at it on a client by client basis or a partner by partner basis. I look at it as more of the overall business mix. So, in margin terms, I have a minimum margin that I look at, which enables me then to give back. It doesn't necessarily need to be giving back to that community there or to that client because I'm working with that client or wherever it is, but I do require a minimum, of course. So as long as I'm making that minimum margin, I'm able to do that. And what I do is I make sure that that is ring fenced in our account. So my accountant is very much on board with this as well. And she knows that at the end of each month, she'll look at that, she'll look at the margin, she'll extract that out of the monthly figures and put it into a pot that we can use. And then we use that very sensibly as well. We don't use it every month. We use it, as and when it's needed, but we also make sure we do it. And even in small ways, I do a series, which of course you have been a guest on, CK, called Guest Practices, where we talk to entrepreneurs like yourself who have a story to tell and who can inspire with their own journey. And part of the way of thanking my guests with that is, as you'll remember, is talking to you about what's really important for you, where you live, or the country where you live, the region where you live, that we can contribute to as an added thank you for being there, and we make a donation. So it comes either in moments like that when we do very specific things like that, or month by month, quarter by quarter, when we look at what the available pot is, and it's always different, and where it's needed. So, for example, at the end of 2019, we diverted much of our funds, not just to the poorest places on earth, but also some of the countries who were in bad need of it. So it was around the Australian bushfires, you'll remember, which absolutely decimated not just communities and families, but wildlife on a large scale and the natural environment. And so actually we diverted almost kind of 90% of our available gifting, if you like, and support to that all around the world. And again, I reinforce, even as a small business, you can do this. Every little helps. Just remember that.
Very, very interesting. In fact, you mentioned about the wildfire. There are wildfires everywhere. And, most of the time, the plight of the wildlife is sort of ignored. And I think people like you are doing a lot to help this cause. So this brings me to a question which is lurking in my mind, and that is, this needs to be spread. There has to be a rub-off effect of what you're doing. I think all of us should embrace the gig economy and also contribute whatever percentage we have in mind back to the society. So are you thinking or planning or already have a group where like-minded people can join and share ideas?
Well, yes, informally, I would say, but I'm also learning from people and entrepreneurs. So there is a CEO in the UK called Paul Hargreaves, who is the CEO of a company called Cotswold Fare. It is a wholesale food distributor. He is absolutely committed to this, and he wrote this book that you can see here, Forces for Good, which is talking about creating a better world through purpose driven business. And his argument with this book is around, it's about leaders. He is one of these new breed of leaders who's had he's my age, had a traditional career, and then started his own business, was a profiteer, as you called it before, and then suddenly took a step back and say, you know what, I can do more, and I need to do more, and we have a duty to do more. The old model isn't working, and there are lots of people like this. So there's an informal community that we talk about, and I've also interviewed Paul on those same kind of guest practices podcasts that I do, that I was doing for you, and it's fascinating. You talk to somebody like Paul, and he is so emotionally tied to this, that the way that he talks about his business, his people, communities that he serves, some of the things that he's dealt with, and the people that he's helped, you see how deeply it affects him on an emotional level. And this is where that new breed of leader, I think, really models the behavior. They're very, very in touch with the human center of themselves, the emotional side. They embrace human-centered leadership. They embrace community-centered leadership, as well as driving the business forward. And he is a great business person, so he is very focused on doing that, but alongside his support. Now, one very formalized element that goes alongside that in the UK is something called a certified B Corp, B for Betty. So certified B Corp, certified B Corporation. Google it, have a look at it. It is a new standard. So you'll know the ISO standards that we shared sort of worldwide around process quality and all of those kind of things. Certified B Corp is a process accreditation system which looks at what we're talking about here: purpose-driven businesses and leaders. This goes beyond what like ISO used to do. It looks not just at processes and systems and how you operate. It looks about your employee policies, your community policies. It looks at where you source every single product from. It looks how you manage your partners and distributors. It also considers how you are a voice in the marketplace for driving this kind of mentality and mindset shift at leadership and business level. It is absolutely staggering. So I'm starting to go through that process. And I must say, for a small business like myself, it's a really difficult process to go. It is. Now, I thought ISO was a difficult process and time consuming. This really is, but it's helping ask questions that I've not asked before. So I thought I was kind of on this road, but until I went down that certified B Corp route, I didn't quite see some of the areas that now are starting to be joined up in my business, how I operate externally and with others.
Jeremy, it was my pleasure to know your personal side, and it is my honor to bring this to the viewers of my program. I think this is amazing what you're doing, and you have made up your mind, and you have made up a process within the company, which could be either copied by others and could be influenced. You can get inspired. I think that their possibilities are tremendous. We had a bad line in between, but most of the message is very clear. One should not only look at profit making or profiteering, as I've used this word, but also look at how you can contribute for a larger good of the society, because ultimately we are all social animal, and this is our world. We should not be not contributing. We should actually make from the society and give it back a little bit, or whatever we can. So I think it's a pleasure talking to you today, learning about your this side of humane side of your character. You have any last words to, or sort of advice you would like to give it to our viewers?
Well, just two or three points actually. First of all, anybody can do this. I'm a small business. I've embraced a new structure for my business, which means that my costs are very low. So it enables me to do this even at the level that I'm at as a business. So anybody can do this. It's a mindset shift first, and it's a decision. And you're absolutely right. For me, I am totally committed, totally passionate, and will talk to anybody about it. So, if any of your audience here and our viewers would like to get in touch, then feel free. Very happy to have an exchange. But the other important point to note, of course, when we consider the new generations like the millennials in the workplace moving now up to management and leadership levels, and Generation Z coming into the workplace, that may also look for 2-3 jobs at a time, not necessarily a career, then they're looking beyond now the usual things like reward and remuneration. Many are now looking about what type of organization it is and how they are giving back to the community and to the planet as a whole, how they talk about the environment, sustainability, and their track record. And employer branding around this is so important in terms of talent competitive advantage moving forward, that I think that's a tangible benefit to come out of this, as well as you and us as individuals feeling much more fulfilled as business people. We can make profit, but we can also give back.
Excellent message, Jeremy. In fact, it was my personal pleasure to talk to you once again, bring your personal side to my viewers. And I think it was, quite heartening to learn that, we can also do this apart from running our company. We can also contribute back to the society, whatever the cause may be. You can have a cause which is related to cancer care. You may have cause related to wildlife or malnourished children, education, anything. So I think it's interesting conversation we had today. It was my pleasure to talk to you once again, and thank you very much for finding time and discussing this thing with us today.
Thank you very much for having me, CK.
So see you next time, Jeremy, and until then, you take care and bye bye.
Bye bye.